Hi, and welcome back to Memories of Margaret, where the life and legacy of Margaret Naomi Curle will be shared through stories of her love for Christ, her family, her love of learning, and her love of all people. I am your host, Martha Sue French, and I am also the youngest of 6 children of Howard and Margaret Curle. So in today's episode, I will continue to share more of Margaret's poetry, Mama, and how the words have impacted me throughout my life. Now, today's poem is entitled Perseverance, and that poem was featured in the poetry book From My Heart to Yours. Now, before I get started with the poem and sharing a story that I feel kind of goes along with it, just want to see that I'm very casual today. When I look back on some of the previous episodes, I was so worried about messing up. I was so worried about how I looked, how I portrayed myself. Well, folks, this is it. So I feel more comfortable. And today I'm repping Florida State today. So I may be repping Louisville or NFL team or Major League Baseball teams in the future. But I feel that this is more in tune with who I am. Now, every once in a while, I may want to get dressed up. But for today, this is what you're getting. And again, it's not about me. It is about sharing the life and the legacy, again, of a wonderful woman who has made an impact on so many people. So as I mentioned before, Mama was very creative, and she used her creativity in different ways in order to bring in more money for the family. As I mentioned in a previous episode, she didn't always have a job. Well, her job was raising 6 children, but she didn't always have a job outside of the home. So she would do what she could to bring in extra money for the family. So in addition to, or maybe because of her faith, she had an unwavering perseverance. She rarely ever showed any worry or stress, even though, from my recollection, our financial circumstances were always quite grim. So let me share the poem Perseverance and see if you get anything out of it. Perseverance. One day, as I was selling my wares from door to door, my weary feet began to feel that they could move no more. So I sat down on the curbing to take a bit of rest. My shoulders drooped with weariness. My chin was on my chest. The longer that I sat there, the more I wished to stay. But from somewhere close by me, a soft voice seemed to say, "You know you'll make no profit if here all day you sit. You must be up and moving. You know you cannot quit. Set your goal this morning. You set your goal this morning, and each place that you go will be just one less place to stop. You must go on, you know." I knew the voice spoke truly, so I rose to my feet, and feeling rested and refreshed, I moved on up the street. And when the day had ended, I looked back in my mind and counted up my total sales and was surprised to find that from the time I sat down and took that little rest, each step was much more pleasant, and that day's sales were best. So never be discouraged. Take time out if you must. Then go on one step at a time. Be patient, hope, and trust. There's nothing wrong with resting, but one must never quit. Think of the job that must be done and get right back to it. Perseverance by Margaret Curle. So I'm not sure what story or what actually impacted or was the inspiration for that particular poem, but in my mind, I had always thought that it was, I have a memory of her making things and selling them, at town. So I remember in our hometown, we had a little grocery store called Houchins. And Houchins, was in the shopping center. And they would have their almost rotten bananas almost ready to throw out. They were black, basically. So they couldn't sell them to the public. But Mama would go in and ask them for those bananas. And instead of throwing them out, they would give them to her for free. Well, Mama would use them to make her banana bread. And she would make many, many loaves of banana bread. And then she'd go to town to sell them. I remember she'd wrap them up in the clear paper. I can't remember what it's called, the wrap. But she would wrap them individually. She would go sell them. I don't remember where she sold them. I don't remember how much she even sold them for. But when reading the poem, I imagine that that was what she was selling when she wrote that poem, because she talked about her wares. And she would go about to different, I don't know if it was individuals, different stores, because I'm sure not everyone would buy from her. Some people would tell her no, or that they didn't have, but she would go sell banana bread. And again, that would bring in money for the family. I don't know why $3 a loaf is ringing around in my head. It may not have been that much, but I'm thinking that she sold it for around probably $3 a loaf. So that's that's one of the memories I have, her banana bread. It was so good that I haven't recreated yet. Now, I did look, because I mentioned that I have a lot of her recipes, and I have her banana bread recipe that I'm going to share with you. You can still see it's written in her handwriting. It still has the stains on it from when she would use it. But it's just very nostalgic, seeing something that I know that she made and that I know that brought a lot of people a lot of pleasure. So I'm going to share this banana bread recipe with you. I've kind of enlarged it. Now, see, you can see how the stains are on it. It calls for 1/2 cup shortening, a cup of sugar, if anyone wants to take this recipe down, 3 eggs, well beaten, 3 or 4, and see where it says very ripe bananas. So that's what she did. She got those rotten bananas from Houchins. 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 3 tablespoons of cold water, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Then everything, it shows how to mix it together. And the very end, it says bake approximately 1, then it says over. On the back, it just says 1 hour, and then it says cool before slicing. So I'm gonna leave this up a second if you're interested in taking this down or possibly recreating this, and letting me know if you do, if you made it, if you liked it, what it tastes like, etc. But this is Margaret Curle's handwritten recipe for banana bread. And I think that was the inspiration for the poem Perseverance. So the lesson I learned from not only from this poem, but from Mama, was to never give up. And years later, after her death, I started an online store based on her poetry. And I had a magnet made. It's a shortened version, but I had a magnet made of the poem Perseverance. And it was just the very end part, but here it is. And some of you still may have that, and I hope you do. It's magnetized on the back. You can put it on the refrigerator. I actually put it on my credenza at work, and I referred to it often because it got me through a lot of hard days. And this one is just shortened to start off with: never be discouraged, take time out if you must, then go on 1 step at a time, Be patient, hope, and trust. There's nothing wrong with resting, but one must never quit. Think of the job that must be done and get right back to it. Another memory that triggers is I would share this with my boss, my coworkers, everyone at work when I was at work. And I still have, and if I had known I was going to do the point perseverance, I would have found it because I have it here somewhere. But I still have a handwritten note that my section manager at the time, Don Johnson, had written to me. And it meant so much to me because he quoted Mama's poem back to me in a message that he gave me. So that just meant a lot. Again, has she done it? Do you remember, Mark? Do you remember Mama? Have you learned any lessons from her? Would you like to share anything? That's the wrap for today for me. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Memories of Margaret. If you haven't already, tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast so they can either see the information or can hear the information. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel or on Spotify so you won't miss any episodes. Like us on Facebook, and please leave any feedback. If you would like to be a guest on a future episode, again, leave me a message on the Facebook page, Memories of Margaret, or send an email to memoriesofmargaretnaomi@gmail.com. In the next episode, I will share more of Margaret's creativity, either through one of her newspaper articles that she wrote for the LaRue County Herald, which was entitled Margaret's Musings, or I might just share an entry or a couple of entries from her diary that I had mentioned that was found. And again, that 5-year diary spanned from 1942 to 1946, years before she was even married or thought about children. But I would like to share some of the entries from the diary. If it's not the next episode, it will definitely be one of the future episodes. So until next time, make memories with your family. Thank you. See you next time.